Imagine waking up this morning expecting your Social Security payment to arrive only to open your bank account and find nothing. No deposit, no explanation, just silence. Now imagine calling the Social Security office and being told your benefits were stopped because of a brand new rule you never even knew existed. That is not a hypothetical situation. That is happening to real seniors right now. As of today, a major new Social Security Administration rule has officially taken effect, and it changes how benefits are verified, how notices are delivered, and even how the government monitors your financial information. For millions of retirees, this is one of the biggest changes to Social Security procedures in more than a decade, and here is the part that matters most. Under this new system, a single missed email, a delayed response, or an unreported life change could now be enough to pause your monthly payments without warning. That is why this update is so important. If you are currently receiving Social Security, planning to apply soon, or helping a parent or loved one manage their benefits, what you are about to learn could directly affect your income starting today. The Social Security Administration has officially put into effect a rule that changes the way benefits are managed for millions of Americans. This is not a proposal. It is not a future plan. It is active right now. The rule was finalized after months of internal review, public comment periods, and legal challenges. And it now directly impacts how your eligibility for benefits is checked and how the agency communicates with you. For years, Social Security has operated on a system that relied mostly on occasional updates and self-reporting from beneficiaries. That system is now gone. The new approach is far more aggressive, far more automated, and far less forgiving of mistakes or delays. The agency says the goal is to prevent improper payments and protect taxpayer dollars. But for everyday seniors, the result is a brand new layer of responsibility and risk. Under this rule, the burden of proving your eligibility no longer happens only when you first apply for benefits. Instead, it becomes an ongoing year-after-year requirement. Notices that used to arrive by mail may now arrive only by email. Information that used to be checked occasionally will now be monitored continuously. And actions that once resulted in a simple correction could now result in immediate suspension of your monthly check. That is why understanding this change is so critical. It affects how often you must respond to the agency, how quickly you must act, and even how carefully you need to watch your own financial records. This is not just a small administrative update. It is a complete shift in how Social Security operates behind the scenes, and it is built around three major changes that every senior needs to understand. The first of those changes is by far the most important because it directly affects every single person receiving benefits. Starting today, the Social Security Administration has implemented mandatory annual verification for all beneficiaries aged 62 and older. In simple terms, that means once every year, you will now be required to prove that you are still eligible to receive your benefits. In the past, many seniors only heard from Social Security if there was a problem or a major life change. Now, contact will become routine and unavoidable. Each year, beneficiaries will receive a formal verification notice requiring them to confirm key pieces of information such as their income from all sources, their living arrangements, their marital status, and in some cases, even details about their assets. This is not optional paperwork. It is not a suggestion. It is a mandatory requirement tied directly to whether your payments continue. And here is the part that makes this new rule especially serious. When that verification notice arrives, you will have just 30 days to respond. If you fail to provide the requested information within that time frame, the agency now has the authority to suspend your monthly benefits until you do comply. Think about what that really means. Missing a single deadline, overlooking one notice, or delaying a response because you are traveling, sick, or simply confused could now result in your Social Security check being stopped completely. The agency argues that this system is necessary because billions of dollars in improper payments are made every year to people who are no longer eligible or whose circumstances have changed. According to internal reports, Payments sometimes continue to people who have returned to work, who have remarried in situations that affect benefits, or even to beneficiaries who have passed away. From the government's perspective, annual verification is a way to catch those issues faster, but from the perspective of ordinary retirees, it creates a new and very real danger. Seniors who have been receiving benefits for years without any problems will now need to be constantly alert for verification requests and ready to respond quickly with documents and proof. There is no automatic grace period. There is no assumption that you simply missed the notice. Under this new rule, silence equals non-compliance, and non-compliance can mean no benefits. This single change alone is enough to affect nearly every household that depends on Social Security income. But as significant as it is only the first part of the new system. The next change could make responding to these verification notices even more challenging for millions of seniors. The second major change taking effect today involves how the Social Security Administration communicates with you. For decades, most official notices arrive the same way government mail always has, in paper envelopes delivered to your home. That familiar system is now largely disappearing. Under the new rule, Social Security is shifting to what they call an electronic first communication model. For the majority of beneficiaries, that means important notices, including the new annual verification requests, will no longer be sent through regular postal mail. Instead, they will be delivered electronically, most often through email or through messages inside your online Social Security account. On the surface, this may sound like a simple modernization effort, but in reality, it creates serious new risks for many seniors. A large percentage of retirees do not check email regularly. Some use email only occasionally to talk with family. Others created an email address years ago and rarely log into it anymore. And many older Americans are simply more comfortable reading paper letters than navigating online accounts and digital inboxes. Yet, under this new system, if the agency has an email address on file for you, that becomes the primary method of contact. And here is the most important part. The moment Social Security sends an electronic notice, the clock starts ticking. You are considered officially notified the instant that message is sent, whether you actually saw it or not. If you miss the email, overlook it, or never log into your account, that does not stop the 30-day deadline. The responsibility is entirely on you to monitor those digital messages. The only people automatically exempt from this electronic mandate are beneficiaries aged 75 and older, individuals who can prove they do not have internet access, and those who qualify for special accommodations because of disability. Everyone else is now expected to operate inside this digital system. That means a simple mistake, like an outdated email address, a full inbox, or a message accidentally sent to a spam folder, could potentially lead to missed notices and suspended benefits. For seniors who have spent their entire lives handling Social Security matters through paper mail, this change represents a major adjustment. It requires new habits, new routines, and much closer attention to online communication than many retirees have ever needed before. And it ties directly back to the first change, because those annual verification notices may now arrive only in electronic form. Miss that message and you could miss your monthly income. This is why understanding and adapting to the new communication system is just as important as understanding the verification requirement itself. But even these two changes are not the full story. There is a third part of the rule that operates quietly behind the scenes, and in many ways, it is the most powerful and controversial change of all. Beginning today, the Social Security Administration is also launching a dramatically expanded data matching system that allows the agency to monitor beneficiaries in ways that were never possible before. In the past, Social Security mostly relied on information that people voluntarily reported. If your income changed, if you moved, if you remarried, or if your financial situation shifted, the system depended largely on you to inform them. Now, that approach has been replaced with constant automated cross-checking. Under the new rule, the agency has authority to pull information from a wide range of outside sources to verify what beneficiaries report. This includes data from the Internal Revenue Service, state tax departments, unemployment agencies, the Department of Veterans Affairs, state vital records offices, banks and financial institutions, and even credit reporting agencies. All of this information can now be compared automatically against your Social Security file. What that means in practical terms is that the government may know about changes in your life before you ever tell them. If you take a new job, open a bank account, sell a property, receive a large deposit, get married, get divorced, or move to a new address, those events can now appear in agency databases through data sharing agreements. If anything in those records conflicts with what Social Security believes about your situation, the system will flag it as a discrepancy, and when a discrepancy is flagged, the burden shifts to you to explain it. You may receive a notice demanding clarification or documentation. If the agency is not satisfied with your response, they now have the power to reduce your benefits, suspend them entirely, or declare that you were overpaid and must return money you already received. In extreme cases where they believe false information was provided intentionally, the agency can even refer matters for fraud investigation. Supporters of this change argue that it will help prevent billions of dollars in improper payments by catching unreported income and eligibility changes much faster. But for ordinary seniors, it creates a new reality where honest mistakes, misunderstandings, or simple delays in reporting can quickly turn into serious problems. Imagine receiving a letter saying your benefits are being cut because a database shows income you never actually earned, or because a financial transaction was misinterpreted by an automated system. Fixing those kinds of errors can take weeks or months, and during that time, your monthly income could be interrupted. This expanded monitoring means that Social Security is no longer just waiting for you to report changes. It is actively searching for them. And if the information they receive from other sources does not perfectly match your records, you are the one who must prove that nothing is wrong. When you put all three of these changes together, the annual verification requirement, the shift to electronic communication, and the new data matching system, you begin to see how dramatically different the Social Security landscape has become overnight. For some seniors, these changes may simply feel like extra paperwork. But for others, especially those with complex financial situations, limited technology skills, or ongoing life changes, this new system introduces real uncertainty and risk. While these new rules technically apply to almost everyone receiving Social Security, the reality is that some groups of seniors will feel the impact far more than others. The first group at highest risk is seniors who continue working while collecting Social Security benefits. Under long-standing rules, people who claim benefits before reaching full retirement age are limited in how much income they can earn each year. If they go over that limit, part of their Social Security benefit is withheld. That basic rule has not changed. What has changed is how quickly and aggressively the agency now enforces it. In the past, most seniors who worked part-time would not hear about an earnings problem until the following year after they filed their tax return. The agency would review the income information, calculate whether too much had been paid, and then request repayment. It was inconvenient, but at least people had time to plan and adjust. Under the new system with real-time data matching, the agency can now see your earnings almost immediately. That means benefits can be reduced or suspended in the middle of the year instead of months later. For retirees living paycheck to paycheck, that sudden change in cash flow can be devastating. The second group facing new complications is widows and widowers who receive survivor benefits. Many people do not realize how sensitive these benefits are to changes in marital status. If a surviving spouse remarries before a certain age, eligibility for survivor benefits can end. In the past, the agency relied mostly on beneficiaries to report remarriages. Some people reported immediately, others delayed, and some simply did not understand the requirement. Now, with access to state marriage records and other databases, Social Security can discover a remarriage almost instantly. If there is any gap between the date of the marriage and the date it was officially reported, the agency may assume benefits were received improperly during that period. That can lead to large overpayment demands, even in situations where the beneficiary believed they followed the rules correctly. The third and most vulnerable group is seniors receiving Supplemental Security Income or SSI. SSI is different from regular Social Security retirement benefits because it is based on financial need and strict income and asset limits. Even small changes like receiving help from a family member or having a few extra dollars in a bank account can affect eligibility. Under the new data matching system, those changes will be detected almost immediately. For low-income seniors who rely on SSI to survive, a sudden suspension of benefits because of an automated flag can create an immediate financial crisis. These three groups, working retirees, surviving spouses, and SSI recipients, are likely to experience the most frequent notices, the most questions, and the greatest risk of interrupted payments. But the truth is that no beneficiary is completely untouched by these changes. Anyone who has even a slightly complicated life situation now needs to be more careful and more organized than ever before. To understand how serious these changes can be, it helps to look at what is already happening in the first days of this new system. Across the country, seniors are waking up to situations they never expected. Picture a 68-year-old retiree who has received her Social Security deposit like clockwork for years. She checks her bank account this morning and finds the payment missing. After waiting on hold for hours, she is told that an electronic verification notice was sent to an old email address she barely uses. Because she never responded within 30 days, her benefits were automatically suspended. Now she must go through a reinstatement process that could take weeks, all while her rent and bills are still due. Consider a 64-year-old man who took early retirement but continues to work a few hours a week to supplement his income. Under the old system, he kept careful records and expected any earnings issues to be settled the following year. Instead, he receives a notice that his benefits are being stopped immediately because agency data shows he earned more than allowed last quarter. The problem is that the figure includes a one-time payment that he believes should not count. Now he must fight to prove his case while his monthly income disappears. Or think about a 72-year-old widow who remarried last year. She called Social Security to report the change and believed everything was handled correctly. Today she receives a letter saying she was overpaid thousands of dollars because the remarriage was never properly recorded in the system. Even though she did what she was supposed to do, the burden is now on her to prove it. These are not rare or unusual situations. They are exactly the kinds of problems that become more common when a large government program shifts from a human-centered system to an automated data-driven one. Computers do not understand context. They do not recognize honest mistakes. They simply compare numbers and generate actions based on rules. And when those automated actions involve suspending a senior's only source of income, the consequences are very real. The purpose of sharing these stories is not to create panic, but to show how important it is to pay attention under this new system. A missed message, a misunderstood rule, or a small reporting delay can now snowball into a major financial headache. That is why knowing exactly what steps to take starting today is so important. If you are currently receiving Social Security benefits, or if you expect to apply for them soon, there are several important steps you should take immediately to protect yourself under this new system. The first and most urgent step is to create or update your online My Social Security account. This account is now the central hub for almost all communication. If you do not already have one, you should go to the official Social Security website and set it up as soon as possible. If you already have an account but have not logged in for a long time, you need to access it today and make sure everything inside is accurate and up to date. The most important detail to check is your email address because so many notices will now be delivered electronically. The email on file must be one you actually use and check regularly. Many experts recommend creating a dedicated email account used only for Social Security and other important financial matters so nothing gets lost in a crowded inbox. The second step is to carefully review all of your contact information. Your mailing address, phone number, and personal details must be correct in the system. If the agency tries to reach you and the information they have is outdated, they will not assume the problem is on their end. They will assume you failed to respond. Taking a few minutes now to confirm every detail can prevent serious problems later. Third, you should begin organizing documentation related to your benefits. Under the new annual verification process, you may be asked to prove your income, living arrangements, or marital status at any time. Start keeping copies of tax returns, pay stubs, pension statements, bank records, and any other paperwork that affects your eligibility. Put everything in one safe place so you can respond quickly if a notice arrives. Fourth, make it a habit to check your account regularly, even if you think nothing has changed. Set a reminder on your phone or calendar to log in at least once a month and review any messages or alerts. Do not wait for the agency to contact you. Being proactive is now one of the best ways to avoid unpleasant surprises. Fifth, if you are still working while receiving benefits, you must keep very detailed records of your earnings. Save every pay stub, every form, and any proof of special payments like bonuses or one-time compensation. If the agency's data shows income that you believe is incorrect, those documents will be your main defense. Sixth, report any life change the moment it happens. If you move, get married, start a job, stop working, or experience any change that could affect your benefits, notify Social Security right away through your online account and keep confirmation of the report. Do not assume they will figure it out on their own. And finally, stay alert. This new system requires seniors to be more involved and more attentive than ever before. The days of simply receiving a monthly check without thinking much about it are largely over. Taking these steps now may feel inconvenient, but they are far easier than dealing with suspended payments or long appeals later. These actions put control back in your hands and greatly reduce the chance that a technical issue or missed message disrupts the income you depend on. Not surprisingly, a rule this sweeping and this strict did not take effect without serious controversy. During the public comment period, tens of thousands of people and organizations voiced strong objections. Senior advocacy groups argued that the changes place an unfair burden on older Americans who may struggle with technology or who live with health challenges that make fast responses difficult. Major organizations warned that forcing most communication into electronic form could leave many seniors confused, excluded, or at risk of missing critical notices. They pointed out that millions of retirees still rely on traditional mail and do not feel comfortable navigating online accounts. Disability rights advocates also raised concerns that a rigid 30-day response window fails to consider real-life situations such as hospital stays, caregiving responsibilities, or cognitive limitations. Privacy groups focused on the expanded data matching system, arguing that giving the agency access to banking information, credit reports, and private databases without individual consent threatens personal privacy and creates the possibility of errors and data breaches. Many commenters worried that automated systems would flag innocent transactions as suspicious, forcing seniors to prove their innocence in complicated bureaucratic processes. Critics also warned that the new rule flips the traditional idea of fairness. Instead of the government having to prove a person is no longer eligible, beneficiaries must now constantly prove that they are. That shift, they argued, creates a presumption of guilt whenever a computer algorithm detects something it does not understand. Despite all of these objections, the Social Security Administration defended the changes. The agency argued that improper payments cost billions of dollars every year and that stronger verification is necessary to protect the long-term stability of the program. They emphasized that exceptions exist for seniors over 75 and for people without reliable internet access. They also stated that 30 days is a reasonable amount of time to respond to a request for information. Legal challenges were filed attempting to block the rule, but federal courts ultimately allowed it to move forward, ruling that the agency has broad authority to set procedures for managing benefits. From the government's perspective, the new system is about efficiency and accuracy. From the perspective of many seniors, it feels like added pressure and uncertainty at a stage of life when stability matters most. Both sides of the argument contain truth. There is no question that Social Security must prevent fraud and overpayments, But there is also no question that the way those goals are pursued can have real human consequences. Understanding this controversy is important because it explains why the rule is structured the way it is, and why beneficiaries must now take such an active role in protecting their own benefits. Even with this new rule fully in place, it is important to remember that you still have legal rights as a Social Security beneficiary. The system may be stricter and more automated than before, but it is not absolute. If your benefits are reduced, suspended, or questioned because of the new verification or data matching process, you are not required to simply accept that decision. You have the right to challenge it. The first step in that process is called a request for reconsideration. This means another agency employee, someone who was not involved in the original decision, will review your case and the information you provide. If that reconsideration does not resolve the issue, you can then request a formal hearing before an administrative law judge. At that hearing, you are allowed to present documents, explain your situation, and show evidence that the decision was incorrect. If the judge rules against you, there are still further levels of appeal, including review by the Social Security Appeals Council and, if necessary, the ability to take the case to federal court. These protections did not disappear when the new rule took effect. They remain an essential part of the system. You also have the right to be represented throughout this process. You can hire an attorney or use a qualified non-attorney representative to help you gather records, prepare arguments, and communicate with Social Security on your behalf. For many seniors, having professional help can make a huge difference, especially when dealing with complicated income questions or disputed data from outside agencies. Another important protection is the option to request expedited processing. If you are facing serious financial hardship, if your benefits are suspended and you rely on that money for basic living expenses, you can ask the agency to speed up the review of your case or to provide temporary payments while the dispute is being resolved.